This one's kinda interesting because it has these two parallel narratives that kinda intertwine and share a lot of similarities and work together to tell a story. But the basic premise is that there's this old man who at first seems to be a bit disillusioned, but is sorta connecting with his granddaughter through this story he tells about his childhood and where and how he grew up. And they can relate to each other because of their complicated relationships with their fathers, but also because of their love for wildlife and nature, that sort of thing. So on the one hand, the story follows this old man and his granddaughter, and on the other hand it tells the story of this old man as a small boy. And while I didn't necessarily love the parts with the granddaughter, I did like the parts about his childhood quite a bit. I thought that was more or less fantastic. I mean, the kid, Finn Little, is really great in this, as is Jay Courtney who plays his dad, and Trevor Jameson who plays some sort of neighbor/friend, I guess you could say. And I thought that part of the movie was just great. It was cute, it was sweet, there was a lot of heart to it, and I may or may not have shed a couple of tears. It actually got pretty emotional at several points, and overall I thought it was mostly well handled. I mean, at one point in particular it did get a bit too silly for my taste. I'm a little bit too cynical to just go along with some of that. But overall, that was sort of a minor nitpick in the grand scheme of things. Now, where I'm actually a bit more torn about this movie is the whole environmentalist angle, because there is actually quite a bit of an emphasis on that. And on paper, I don't have anything against the message. I absolutely think we should take care of the environment. And wanton killing of animals for no reason is not something I can get behind. However, the way the movie handled it was not exactly subtle or elegant. In fact, it's in your face and pretty much impossible to ignore. Now, even that didn't bother me that much. But there was one thing that did. The portrayal of hunters in this. It's not exactly fair. And I'd even argue that it's, well, not representative of most actual hunters out there. Real hunters don't behave the way the ones in this movie do. And even calling them hunters just propagates this false image of what it means to be one. And just FYI, I don't even hunt. But I do know hunters, and I respect what they do. In fact, I think eating factory farmed meat, like I do, is way worse than hunting. So I really have no moral grounds to judge anyone who hunts to feed themselves. But I also don't appreciate how this movie portrays hunters as essentially villains. It's a very oversimplified and, well, even juvenile way of looking at things. So that definitely brought the movie down a notch or two for me personally. It basically gets a little bit preachy and tries to send some pretty skewed messages. And that's a shame because, again, on paper I don't have anything against what it's trying to say. It's just how it goes about it that I wasn't exactly a fan of. But thankfully there's more to this movie than that. There's also a lot of real heart. And that kinda saved it for me, and I was even able to sort of overlook the environmentalist agenda. Because I really liked a large portion of this movie. And had it toned down the propaganda a little bit, it could have been excellent. And I would still say it's good, although I'm definitely torn about it. But would I recommend it? Yeah, I do think it's worth giving a shot. And others might not be as sensitive to some of that stuff as I was. So maybe check it out, maybe don't. I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to fund my own wildlife sanctuary. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.